At 16, when most athletes are still fighting for a spot on the roster, Alysa Liu had already conquered everything American figure skating could throw at her. National titles, triple axels, the media frenzy cameras tracking her into the rink before the sun even came up. And then she walked away. No torn ligaments, no scandal, no tragic collapse. She just quit. It didn't look brave at the time. It looked like burning cash. We're talking about a father who reportedly poured between $500,000 and $1 million into her career. Private ice in Oakland cross-country flights, custom dresses costing more than a used sedan, coaches, head doctors, choreographers, years of it. When you know someone sank that kind of money into your dream, walking away doesn't feel like rebellion. It feels like defaulting on a loan. In April 2022, she dropped the retirement news. Quietly. No grand speech, just a post. She'd just finished 7th at the Beijing Olympics and snagged bronze at Worlds. For most skaters, that's a launch pad. For her, it felt like the finish line of a race she was tired of running. She admitted it later, skating often felt like her father's business and she was just the employee. That sentence hits harder than any medal. When you're a prodigy at 13, the applause replaces your childhood. School dances turn into training blocks. Weekends become layovers. Joy becomes a job. From the stands, it looks graceful. Up close, it's brutal. Nothing about elite skating is casual. The body is monitored. Weight is debated. Rotations are dissected frame by frame. One under-rotated jump becomes a national crisis. At that level, talent isn't enough. It has to be managed like a high-stakes investment portfolio. So she stepped off the ice. For nearly 2 years, she did what elite athletes almost never do, absolutely nothing competitive. She traveled, hiked to Everest Base Camp, enrolled at UCLA, took road trips without logging every mile, and woke up without a 5 a.m. alarm. And here is the kicker. For a long time, she didn't miss it. That says more about burnout than any stat sheet. Some retirements are forced. This one was a choice. And chosen retirement hits different. There's no injury to blame, no villain, just exhaustion and relief. Then came the spark. Early 2024, a casual ski trip. No pressure, no judges, just speed and powder. She said the adrenaline felt familiar. Her body recognized the rush before her mind did. The control, the edge, the risk. She went back to the rink just to see, not to plot a comeback, just to vibe check the feeling. That distinction is key. Athletes who return out of fear usually crumble. Athletes who return out of curiosity, they change the game. The first sessions weren't pretty. The rust was real. The timing was off. But the mindset had shifted. She picked her music, set her schedule, and backed off when the grind got too heavy. The machine was turned off. When she officially returned to competition in late 2024, heads turned. When she took the world title in 2025, jaws dropped. Then came Milan, February 19, 2026. Free skate, sitting in third. Not the favourite, not the headline. She skated clean. 7 triples, a razor-sharp triple Lutz triple toe combo. The judges leaned in. The cameras zoomed. The smile at the end, that wasn't rehearsed. 2 gold medals by the closing ceremony. 1 solo, 1 team. The first American woman to pull that off in 24 years. Now the talk turns to cash. It always does. Before, Milan estimates put her net worth around $500,000. Modest for a superstar, especially considering the cost to build her. But Olympic gold changes the math fast. The US Olympic Committee pays out roughly $37,500 per gold. She earned that twice. Deals with Nike, Samsung, and Gillette Venus were already signed. Those contracts are about to look very different. Still, the real question isn't her net worth today. It's the cost of getting there. Strip away the hardware and the hype, and Alysa Liu's financial story isn't about striking it rich. It's about a talent that nearly collapsed under the weight, walked away, and only grew when it finally belonged to her. The money came after that. After Milan, the numbers started flying before the Olympic flame even died out. Estimated net worth still hovering around $500,000. To most, that sounds low for a double gold medalist. But that number only looks small next to the myth we believe about Olympic money. The truth, figure skating isn't the NBA or the NFL. The ice itself doesn't make you rich. The business around the ice does. And that is where Alysa's story gets sharp. Her father's reported spend of $500,000 to $1 million over a decade is usually framed as a sacrifice. After the medals, people start calling it an investment, like the return was always guaranteed. That version is just a fairy tale. It glosses over the brutal grind, the years where maybe was the only guarantee, where no medal was promised and no career was assured to pay back the massive debt. Even before the puck dropped on the 2026 Games, Alysa already had signatures on contracts. Heavyweights like Nike, Samsung and Gillette Venus were already in her corner, but those checks were written on what if. She had the youth, the marketability and the freakish talent, but she didn't have the title Olympic champion yet. Corporations will throw cash at potential, sure, but they back up the Brinks truck for proof. That is why the night of February 19, 2026 means more than just a pretty picture on the podium. She hit the ice for the free skate sitting in third. She wasn't the lock. She wasn't the safe money. And that gap isn't just drama. It is pure leverage. Then she dropped the hammer, a flawless free skate, 7 triples, a razor-sharp triple, Lutz triple-toe combo. It didn't look desperate. It looked dominant. Her score didn't just climb, it vaulted her straight to the summit. Then came the team gold. 2 medals. 2 iconic highlights for the commercial reel. And let's not forget the instant cash injection. Under the US Olympic and Paralympic Committee's Operation Gold, the bounty for a top-tier finish sits at roughly $37,500. She bagged 2. That is a quick $75,000 direct to the bank account. But that is peanuts. The real story is hidden in the fine print. Endorsement contracts are booby-trapped with milestone clauses. Make the team bonus. Win gold massive bonus. Every victory unlocks escalators, renegotiation rights, and whole new tiers of sponsorship. The paper you sign before the torch is lit looks like spare change compared to the ink you dry after the closing ceremony. Appearance fees skyrocket. The speaking circuit starts calling. Producers reach out. And those ice show offers, they stop being symbolic and start being serious wealth. And here's the kicker. The detail everyone glosses over because it doesn't look like a dollar sign. She is only 20. That is crucial. A 20-year-old double champ isn't just a winner. She is an investment with a massive runway. Sponsors aren't buying a season, they are securing a decade of relevance. Throw in her status as a UCLA student and you have that perfect relatable angle corporate marketing drools over. Plus, as a Chinese-American star, she commands attention in multiple global power markets. That profile doesn't print money on its own, but it ignites interest. And interest. That is what starts a bidding war. None of this is accidental. The media blackout lifts and the schedule tightens. Agents fight for the prime spots, curating every second of airtime. A fresh, beaming champion moves product way better than someone who looks crushed by the spotlight. That genuine grin after the free skate, the one that looked real, that is worth more to a sponsor than any technical element on the score sheet. But there is a deeper layer here, something the other narratives barely grazed before moving on. For years, money signified pressure, not a payday. The bills piled up before the medals did. That kind of financial vice grip can strangle a career. It turns every routine into a loan payment. But after Milan, the script flips. Now wealth is the aftermath, not the motive. That shift shields the athlete's mind, and for a business, mental stability means lower risk on their investment. That is the secret sauce people overlook. Sponsors aren't just buying gold medals. They are betting on a person who won't crack when the world is watching. Alysa already proved she could walk away. She showed she doesn't need the ice to survive. Then she came back, not broken, but stronger. That resonates with the fans, and you better believe it resonates in the boardroom. So when you hear estimates pegging her net worth at $500,000, that is ancient history. That is the bank account before the gold rush. Net worth calculators are rearview mirrors. They are always trailing the reality. And the reality? With 2 golds around her neck, she is at the launch pad, not the finish line. The question isn't, will she be rich? It is, how fast and what is the price of admission? There is a hidden pattern in this game. The medal grabs the headline. But the second year, that is when the serious money moves. Check the receipts on past American winter champs. The financial explosion never happens the week of the win. It happens when contracts come up for air. That is when brands decide, was this kid a lucky moment or are they a permanent platform? That distinction is everything for Alysa Liu. 1 gold triggers a spike, 2 golds that builds an empire. But leverage only converts to cash if you steer the momentum without crashing. Some champs burn bright and fade out overexposed before the next season starts. Others, they go strategically dark. They pick fewer deals, bigger checks, longer terms. And right now, she is sitting in the catbird seat. 20 years old, double gold. A comeback story that feels gritty and earned, not spun by a PR firm. That combo gives her pricing power, and pricing power is the difference between comfortable and dynasty wealthy. History paints a clear picture: win Olympic gold, and your endorsement portfolio explodes in the 24 months that follow. We are talking seven-figure contracts for ice shows, depending on how much of your life you want to sign away for the tour. For athletes who can actually work a room, corporate speaking gigs jump to 50,000 or even 100 grand just for showing up. National ad campaigns make the actual competition prize money look like pocket change. But do not be fooled, the money in Olympic sports is a jagged landscape. It all comes down to charisma, timing, the cultural vibe, and the guts to say no to the wrong checks. The sports marketing game in 2026 is a completely different beast than it was 2 decades ago. Social media clout hits almost as hard as the medals now. That audience engagement. That is direct cash in the bank. A squeaky clean champion with a killer digital presence can unlock revenue streams that the old-school TV advertisers never even dreamed of. Alysa wasn't starting from zero before Milan, but now the leverage has shifted. Bonuses kick in and the renewal talks get serious. Before the games, you negotiate on potential. After the gold, you negotiate on proof. That proof skyrockets the valuation. But there is a shadow looming that most fans ignore: sustainability. Some stars cash out fast and fade away. The smart ones play the long game and let the wealth compound. That compound interest only works if the reputation stays bulletproof. No scandals, no burnout, no making the public sick of your face. This is where walking away at 16 flips from a liability to a financial asset. Back then, the industry thought she was crazy. The pundits called it premature. Others saw a kid fighting for emotional survival. But from a branding angle, that hiatus was genius. It turned a standard success story into a complex human drama. She isn't just a machine, she is the prodigy who quit and came back to conquer on her own terms. That creates armor against being typecast. One-dimensional athletes are a nightmare to market long-term. Novelty wears off, but a redemption arc keeps people watching. And attention drives the deals. You also have the global factor: a Chinese-American champion unlocks massive cross-market potential. Global brands are desperate for icons who can move product in more than one hemisphere. That dual appeal blows the budget cap wide open, especially in Asian markets where figure skating is practically a religion. But growth isn't guaranteed. The fastest way to kill your earnings is to be everywhere at once while your performance falls off a cliff. If she crashes and burns in the post-Olympic season, the sponsors will change their tune immediately. If the crowd cools off, the money dries up. So the idea that her net worth is about to multiply isn't just a guess. It is a probability based on every champion who came before her. But stats aren't guarantees. Her ace in the hole is her vibe. She doesn't look thirsty for the fame. Athletes chasing every dime smell desperate. Being selective. That signals power. And the timing is lethal. The 2026 Games broke a 24-year curse for American women in this sport. Ending a drought makes you legendary. And legends get played on repeat. That replay value keeps the brand story alive for years. But here is the pivot. Before 2022, the narrative was about the cost. The money spent, the sacrifices, made the gamble. After Milan, the story shifts to the yield. ROI is a much cleaner conversation. It sounds like cold math, but it rides on human grit. The gold medal bought the visibility, but it didn't promise forever. Right now, Alysa Liu isn't at the peak of her financial power. She is just at base camp. The next 18 to 24 months decide if she becomes a multi-million-dollar mogul or a footnote. And that is where the real tension lives. We want the fairy tale ending. Dad spends a fortune, daughter wins double gold. The bank account swells and everyone applauds. But reality is rarely that neat. On paper, it looks like a win. You are looking at roughly $75,000 in raw prize money for the hardware, plus pre-existing deals getting a Raise Ice show contracts on the table and appearance fees that actually mean something now. The arrow points up, but you can't pay rent with projections. Timing is everything. The post-game window is a hurricane of cameras, media blitzes, and high-stakes deals cut in quiet hotel suites. It is easy to get swept away by that current. It feels like momentum, but often it is just noise. The real scoreboard isn't what she earned in February 2026. It is what she decides to do in 27. History teaches a brutal lesson about solo Olympic champs. That first year after the gold is absolute chaos. The second year is where the real truth comes out. Some athletes fade away, some level up, and a rare few prove they are bigger than the hardware around their neck. Alysa Liu has already proven she has the guts to walk away from the very thing that made her famous. From a business standpoint, that is a massive power move. Proving you are willing to walk away changes the leverage in every single negotiation that follows. There is a distinct difference between chasing a paycheck and deciding if the money fits your lifestyle. That nuance doesn't make headlines, but it dictates the lifespan of a career. Here is the detail that haunts this story. When she retired at 16, she admitted skating often felt like she was working for someone else. That statement never truly evaporated. It just went silent. The post-Milan interviews pivoted to joy the smiles and the sensation of active choice. Her posture was completely at ease. Zero panic in her eyes during the moments that actually count. Brands pick up on that vibe. The crowd feels it too, even if they cannot explain why. However, joy is a fragile thing in elite sports. Endorsements come with heavy expectations. Expectations dictate schedules. Schedules breed exhaustion. And that exhaustion can start to look a lot like the cage she broke out of in 2022. None of this is a lock. The most lucrative Olympic empires are rarely built on athletic dominance alone. They are constructed on emotional stability, public trust, zero controversy, and calculated pacing. At this moment, she holds all the leverage. A 20-year-old double Olympic champion is rarefied air. She snapped a 24-year dry spell for American women in individual Olympic gold. That statistic is going to anchor marketing pitches for years to come. But medals collect dust, crowds drift away, and new prodigies rise up to steal the headlines. The only asset that lasts is how she navigates this next chapter. Her current net worth, hovering around $500,000 before the post-Olympic surge hits, is not shocking because it is massive. It is shocking because it is remarkably small compared to the massive narrative surrounding her. We assume Olympic gold guarantees instant riches. In reality, it only guarantees opportunity. That opportunity must be converted, and conversion comes down to choices. Does she push through the next Olympic cycle? Will she trim her schedule to preserve her longevity? Will she say yes to every corporate check, or be selective? Will she remain the athlete who knows when to hit pause? There is also a much heavier reality lurking beneath the surface. The original financial gamble was never hers to take. It belonged to her father. Reports suggest anywhere between $500,000 and $1 million was spent over a decade. That level of commitment can feel like love. It can also feel like a crushing weight. Now, for the first time, the financial power rests in her hands. That shift alters family dynamics even in the healthiest homes. It changes who calls the shots, who cuts the deals, and who shoulders the burden. No one discusses it publicly, but the pressure is real. The irony is that her most valuable asset was not a triple Lutz, it was restraint. The willingness to walk away when things felt wrong. The ability to make a comeback without looking desperate. If she keeps that instinct sharp, her wealth likely expands into the multi-millions over the next few years. Endorsement renewals, tour revenue, and curated campaigns. If she loses that instinct, the money might spike in the short term, only to evaporate just as fast. Right now, Alysa Liu stands at a quiet crossroads. Behind her lies $1 million spent, 2 Olympic gold medals, and a comeback that stunned the sport. Ahead of her lie unsigned contracts, unwritten seasons, and decisions that will not reveal their true impact until much later. So perhaps the most honest way to discuss her net worth is not as a number, but as a turning point. The medals are permanent. The money is fluid.